Hi everybody, it's Valerie from Stampin' with Valerie, and it has been a long time since I've made a video. And today I'm back and I wanted to share something super cute that I made with some of Stampin' Up's new paper. Now I no longer am a Stampin' Up demonstrator, but I still love to use their products. But I also use a lot of other products too. So if you see me using things from other companies and other things, that's okay. I'm not a demonstrator. So anyway, this is the card I made today, and it is super duper cute and super easy, and I wanted to share it with you. And I was super excited, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna get on and make a video. So here we go. I gave some measurements right here, and I'm gonna show you what I've got here. I forgot to write down this little measurement. This is for our little piece for our sentiment. It's 3/4 inches wide. And this piece is a little longer. When we get done, we're going to cut it down. It's just about 2 3/4 inches, maybe a little bit less once we cut it down after we stamp our sentiment. But you don't have to worry about that until we cut it down. Just get a 3/4 inch piece of black cardstock, just a little scrap. But our black piece of cardstock is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. Then a patterned piece of paper, obviously doesn't have to be this one. Get whatever patterned piece of paper you want. Like I said, this is a Christmas card, but do whatever kind you want, because you can use this, you can make a birthday sentiment, birthday card, whatever you want to do. Piece of white cardstock for the inside, and when we ever put a piece of white cardstock in our basic card size on the inside, it's always 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm sorry, that patterned paper, go ahead and do it 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. I'm going to leave these measurements here the whole time so you can write them down. And then a piece of cardstock for your base. I used Garden Green, and that's a Stampin' Up color, and I scored it at 4 1/4 in the middle, so it's 8 1/2 inches long by 5 1/2 inches wide. And then go ahead and, like I said, get that scored, and then fold that in half. And you've got your card base. Super easy. I'm gonna leave this card. I think that's still in the camera view right there. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, totally in the camera view. But before I even get started, I'm just gonna show you in the holiday catalog where this paper is that I'm using. And it is on that page 4 and 5. It's that new Walk in the Forest paper. And it's that Making a Difference paper that they donate, I believe, $3. Yeah, $3 from the purchase of this paper to, who do they even donate it to? Anyway, they donate it to a charity. I'm not going to read through all of that, but they donate to a charity. But here is what the sheet of paper is that I'm using, and it's just gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. The opposite side is that balmy blue with that beautiful snow design on the back. But I thought this was too pretty not to make a card with today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to start with some stamping and some embossing, because why not, right? I haven't done this in so long, and I was like, we're just going to start out strong. We're going to start with some embossing. So I used a stamp set from a couple of years ago, because I'm just going to use what I have and what I like. So I wanted to use this sentiment. It says, "May the wonder of Christmas stay with you throughout the coming year," and it's from the Wishes and Wonder stamp from a couple of years ago. And I also chose this stamp set because it has the holly and the berries here, or the mistletoe and the berries here. I guess it is mistletoe. And that kind of matched the paper, so I thought it was perfect. So let's grab that sentiment. We're going to use some Versamark. You always need that Versamark when you're doing embossing. Open up the stamping powder to start with. Now I use that embossing buddy. I don't know if Stampin' Up still sells that or not. I know they had it with a kit last year or the year before. So the reason I cut this piece of cardstock longer is because you have to be able to hold on to that while you're heat embossing, because otherwise you'll burn your fingers or whatever, and you do not want to do that. Go ahead and set that aside. I don't know if you can see that with the light where I've stamped on that with that clear Versamark. Go ahead and get that white embossing powder all over that. Pretty on that black cardstock. I'm going to quickly dump this back in here because I have my fan on in here, my ceiling fan, and I just don't want it to blow all over the room when I suck this aside, because that would be a total crafting disaster, which I'm, you know, used to doing, but don't want to do that today. not with an audience. All right, grab your heat gun, whatever heat gun you have. I'm going to use my Take My Pick tool to hold this piece of paper down. I'm going to hold it down like this. I don't want to burn my fingers or get them too warm. Turn that heat gun on. You know they get loud. Hold it kind of close. You got to let it heat up a little bit. It's not quite hot enough yet. That paper will curl a little bit, but it's not going to ruin it. We'll be able to straighten it back out. It'll go back down in just a second. We'll get all of that nice and melted onto the paper, so our sentiment will be so pretty on that black cardstock. And then we can just set that aside and let it cool, so it will be ready when we are ready to cut it down and stick it on our card. That's why I figured we would just do that first, because that's kind of the longest. You can see what it does to the paper underneath too. It kind of heats it up and curls it a little bit. So if you don't want your paper underneath to do that, just kind of set it aside. All right, for the little piece of white cardstock on the inside, I've got that holly, like I said, and I went ahead and I'm gonna stamp with some Memento. I'll show you the inside. I stamped it with Memento, and then I just colored it in. Now you can stamp it if you want with a colored ink instead of the black Memento, but I just chose to use the black Memento so I could color it in with some Stampin' blends. I'm not sure if these are current colors either, but like I said, I'm using what I have. I'm going with it, and that's what you can do too. Use what you have, go with it. I'm going to quickly color these holly leaves in with shaded spruce is what I'm using, and then I've got Real Red Out I'll use for the berries, and this will go on the inside of the card. I did not stamp a sentiment on the inside of the card, but you are more than welcome to do that, because, you know, your card and whoever you're sending it to, you can do that. I just like to write personal message on the inside of my cards, usually for Christmas, so I don't always stamp something on the inside. And whenever I'm coloring, I always end up turning my paper around so I can have the best angle for when I'm coloring it. Not only just for the coloring, but for my eyeballs too, because, you know, when you got almost 52-year-old eyes, they don't always cooperate. And if you're my age, you know that. If you're younger, good luck to you. You'll get there eventually. And if you don't know about it, there is a cool thing called the color lifter is what they call it. I call it, it's more of a color pusher. So if you go out of the lines, which I just did a tiny bit right there, you probably can't really see it on the camera, but I went out just a tiny bit. So you take that color lifter and you just go over it like that, and it will kind of, I don't want to say erase it. It doesn't really erase it. It's just the clear alcohol, I guess, just kind of takes it away a little bit. So maybe I guess you could say it erases it. I don't know. But I'm just going to go ahead and color in my berries with the Real Red. And then I will go ahead and just set this little piece aside. So we've got that ready for the inside of our card. We've got our sentiment ready, and we can start putting things together. It's super duper quick. It's a quick card. And like I said, I just had everything cut early, or cut beforehand, so that I could just write down measurements for you and go through this. So you can pause it whenever you want. Write down your measurements, go back, and just follow along. Go ahead and use whatever you have. I've got Stampin' Seal Plus is what I like to use around my cards. That, or just some ordinary glue for the patterned paper onto the cardstock. And then once you've got that on your cardstock, you can go ahead and adhere your black cardstock to the front of the card as well. I'll just turn everything around all at the same time. So I don't know if you're like me, but I mean, it's just the end of September, or getting toward the end of September anyway. And it's like, all right, I've got to get started on these Christmas cards or I won't have them ready in time. And so I figured this is the best way to do it, is to just get myself moving. Okay, so as you can see, we literally have half of the card done because we've got all these other pieces ready. So now that you've got that, grab some dimensionals or some other type of foam dots. I've got large ones and small ones. Take your pick tool or something that you use, especially I use them for the small ones especially. And then I'm going to use some of this. It's a sheer ribbon. It has a silver edge on it. It's just called silver and white sheer ribbon, I guess. So what I did with this, because you can see it, it's got these little curly cues in it. And this is the first time I've done this. I just took the ribbon, held it in my hand, and just folded it. But when you kind of fold it in on itself, it makes that little curly cue there, like that. So once you set a piece down on your card, I know it's kind of complicated looking, fold it in. Now you've got your little curly cue. Take one of your larger dimensionals, put it right on the top of that curly cue, stick it down. Now look at that little piece that's still there. You've got that. Now you're going to hold another piece down on your cardstock, hold that piece of ribbon down, fold it in on itself a little bit, and you might want to practice this a couple times before you actually start sticking things down. Fold it in on itself. You got that little piece at the top that's sticking up there. Grab that dimensional again and just stick it down on that. I found this is the easiest way to get it to stick down, and then you still get that beautiful little curly cue at the bottom. And then do it the same. Hold it with your finger, fold it in on itself, and once you've done it a couple of times, it's easier to do it. You got to give it just a little bit of slack to get that curly cue at the top. Sometimes you got to pull it down just a little bit. There we go. That one didn't want to cooperate. It's okay. Let me do that one again. Hold it down. Fold it in. There we go. Now it's got a curly cue at the top. And then give it that little dimensional. So then you got all those little curly cues. And then just get your scissors, which mine are on the opposite side that I need them on, and just cut that ribbon off so it's about the same length on both sides. And then what I did is you can either angle it, or what I did is I just cut it in a little banner. So it's got that little banner shape on it on both ends. Cut that little triangle into it. And have those little pieces fall off. Now this end kept sticking up on me a little bit. So what I did, when I got my little piece of paper for my sentiment, of course I set this down and I put my paper cutter down, and I've got my little sentiment here, and like I said, it just goes over just 2.5, but it's not quite to 3/4, so it's probably 2 5/8 is maybe the length of this. Cut that off, and that's where these smaller dimensionals came in. I went ahead and put a mini dimensional kind of right here on this edge, and that held that down a little bit. And then I just stuck one kind of over here, so both sides of this piece of cardstock had it on there, and it kind of held them both. It held it down evenly. Now, I know it looks silly because this one's just in the middle of nowhere. It's not holding on to any ribbon, but it keeps this piece of cardstock right where you want it. Otherwise, it made the piece of cardstock look like it was floating on this side and was stuck down on the right-hand side. So that's why I put an extra one on the left. All right, just get all those backings off. You got your dimensional there. Go ahead and put your, I kind of stuck my, a little further down than I did on this one, so you can't see my curly cues quite as good on this one, but that's all right. It's still super cute. Then go ahead and put some adhesive on the inside, piece of cardstock on the back of it, adhere that to the inside, and then whatever you want to embellish it with, or if you don't want to embellish it, that's up to you. I just went ahead and used some basic silver rhinestones because those are just classic and they match the ribbon really well. If I can get them where I want them, there we go. 3 or 4 or 5, whatever you want to put, it's up to you. Obviously, your card, wherever you want them. Just adds a little something to the card and it just looks adorable. So those are super cute, easy Christmas card, and you could use any designer series paper or pattern paper that you want. And like I said, you could use it, make a birthday card out of it, you know, use whatever stamp set you want with it. But I hope you enjoyed this, my first video back in a couple of years, and I hope to be back soon with some more cards. Hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye.